is Chicago Muscle.
Okay, let me clear this up for you real quick. As a general rule, yes, it is true that you cannot join unless you are 21 years old. That is one of the newer laws that it was put into effect. I can't go into what's in the books. What I can do is tell you the timeline. Born in 1970. In 1988, I went into the service. Now, with that being said, my father, I had been around the clubhouse. People are saying, you can't go to the clubhouse, you can't go to church, you can't do this, you can't do that. My dad used to put me outside while he was at church having meetings, and he would have me wash motorcycles, do stuff like that, carry the guys' drinks. I was around a clubhouse when I was a little bitty kid, against my mother's, wishes. Now, with that said, when I prospected, you can say it started at 16 and I went up till 18, but here's the thing. I was going to join the Marines no matter whether I had that patch or not. That was my father, that's my legacy. My grandfather was a Marine, my great grandfather was a Marine, my brother was a Marine, my father was a Marine, and he was going to make damn sure that I was a Marine. I could come home to my patch anytime. When I came home to my patch, I got in trouble for an armed robbery and I went to prison. There's the timeline. I went to prison after I came home from the military. No, you cannot sign up for the military when you got a felony. Jeez, this guy made a story up all the way through, and it was wrong timelines and everything. So there now, when I wanted that patch before I left, I told my father I want to be a Hell's Angel before I go in the Marines. He said, why is it important to you? I said, because I might never come back. And there's two legacies to fulfill here. That's it.
Oh, you never know what happens in the angel show. Oh my God, huh?
That sounds pretty legit to me. Now somebody else would have to come with proof to disprove that, because that sounds that sounds very plausible to me. And I think Lori Love brought up a
I
good
was
point
18
too.
when I joined the military. End of story. So, and if you're saying you can't prospect before you're this age, or you can't when your old man is one of the founding people. Now, I'm not saying he was the founding, he started that. See, that's another lie he said. He come on and said that I said my father started the Hells Angels. No, not even close. No, 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 no. But he was one of the earliest members. You know what I mean? Not a founding member, but a early on member when the club first started. So there it is. I just wanted to clear up the timeline. And I asked for my father to patch me before I went to war, because I told him I may not come back, and I want that as my history. And he completely understood it. And they took a vote, and when the vote went in, they said, hell yeah, the kid's going to serve our country, he's going to do this. You got to remember, a lot of bikers, they're very patriotic people. So I got to ask you a question, Kane.
Yes.
If you had a prospect, I'll just use my language.
Okay.
And this kid came to you and said, brother, I want to be a GD so bad, but I'm going to the military. Will you jump me in before I go, because I want it as part of my legacy? Would you do it even though he wasn't old enough for the rules, but you ran the chapter?
I don't know. It's kind of a tricky question because I mean, you get walked
because there's
in.
There's no age limit to, as far as I know, to joining your club. And you know what? You can read the 21 bylaws and all that. What's on paper and what actually happens. Let me tell you another story. I seen guys get pulled in a lot earlier than that because we were at war and needed bodies. So I love the way this guy reads a book and the rules apply. You know what I mean? When realistically each chapter can break certain rules as long as it's not something real bad. Now, say you go to Chuck Zito or you go to Sonny Barger and you say, hey, here's this rule, but my kid's fixing to go fight for the country and I want to do this. Yes. Even with clubs, believe it or not. Believe it or not, there's even Nazi factions and stuff in the military. I know it sounds crazy, but yes, skinhead factions and stuff. All of that. See, because you got to take into consideration when you join the military, you got a lot of underprivileged kids that are trying to get out of that life, that are, you know what I mean, that are trying to separate themselves from the streets, get an education, you know, do what they got to do to serve their country, but they're still, when they walk in the door at 18 years old, they're still affiliated, they're still gangbanging, they're still patched out, you know what I mean? That type of thing. Now, that's not what I did it for. I did it because I wanted to be a Marine like my grandfather, my father, my brother. You know, that it was a family tradition. My son was also a Marine. And my adopted black child was also a Marine. You know, so, and served in Afghanistan. So it's you know, it's just a long, the patch was a father and son tradition. When that prison sentence came down, that ended that tradition. I did not want my sons involved in anything criminal after I got out of prison. And I told him, I said, I want you to do the right thing. I want you to go into the military. I want you to not join anything. And what I said, if you want to join something, I said, join the baddest ass gang in the world. And he's like, what's that? And I said, the police force. Because I don't believe in a lot of what went on. You know what I mean?
Okay, I got a question for you, and this is no disrespect. Okay, so I enlighten me on this because I don't know nothing about the motorcycle stuff and whatever. Mm-hmm. When you drop your patch, what happens? Like, do you get like violated? Do you get walked out? Or
that just really depends on what reason you're trying to drop it. Sometimes it gets stripped, and if you get stripped, you get beat out. And you might not even, if it gets stripped, you might never be seen again, if you want to know that. I mean, it's kind of like, it just depends. But if you go and you do a 12-year bit for the club and you don't tell on anybody, you do your time and you come home and you say, hey, look, I've got a baby that I never got to see because I was in the club. I have my reasons. And then better yet, my father, who was retired at the time, said, hey, he's out. And that's it. I need him here with me. And we were in a different state and the whole 9 yards. My father was when I got out. You know, the 12 years changed a lot in the demographics of my family and everything else. And it was just the right thing to do. And to this day, they are still friends. I hug them every time I see them and tell them I love them. And that's that. You know what I mean? And they respect me. They know what my son does. And but there's not a problem with it. They probably don't like it and they might talk behind my back, but that's not my problem.